All right. I am live. I'm going to share this real quick in the Gently Led Sisters group. My voice is really, really struggling today, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's like the change in weather or something. Oops. There we go. Okay, so I got that ready to go. Got this. Okay, so how is everyone today? Like I said, my voice is struggling. I really don't know what's going on, if it's the change in weather or what. This water bottle is extreme. It's like coming out the top. There we go. Okay. Kind of wait till people start joining. Before I get into the subject, it's been a whirlwind day today. I already taught 5 hours of piano. And now I'm doing Gently Led Sisters, and then I'm headed off to pack. Oh, which reminds me, next Monday, I will be in Florida. So I don't think there will be a live show, and I never even thought about it. I probably should have planned ahead and did a Gently Led Sisters to premiere, and I totally forgot. So next Monday, we will be taking a week off because I will be in Florida. We're flying back on Tuesday. We're flying out tomorrow, flying Tuesday on Tuesday. So next Monday will be a siesta for the show. Maybe I'll try to do a live later in the week, just kind of an impromptu live. I'm also going to try to do a video review of Flying Spirit. I was able to get really, really, really cheap flights for our family, and it's actually going to be cheaper to fly to Florida, which I'm fine with because I was not looking forward to the 18-hour drive. Hi, Joy. And I got really cheap flights, but we are like totally cheapskating it. So if you know the McBurchers and you know me, you know I love to get deals, and you know I cheapskate everything pretty much. So we're totally cheapskating it, and we're trying to get by with just taking a personal item. And I did pay $50 to check one bag because I figured with my husband's suits, we were not going to make it in a small, he needs at least 2. We were not going to make it in a small personal bag for that. So I did do one checked bag, but otherwise we're all packing a week's worth of clothes into a personal bag item. And I will post links to the ones we got. We got them for $10 off Amazon. So it'll be interesting. Let's see if we can make it work. And I'm going to try to take pictures and video it and all that, and then do a review after I get back. So of course that would cause me to have to edit a video, and I don't like editing videos very much, and I haven't done it in a while. So I kind of forgot how to do it, but I'll try to keep that in mind. So today we are talking about the terribly terrific twos. And oftentimes when you hear of parents lamenting their kids, it is usually the terrible twos, 3-year-olds, and 4-year-olds. That tends to be one of the most challenging phases as far as not losing your sanity. So I wanted to give some tips. I put a thought out in the Gently Led Sisters group and asked, what do you want to talk about? What topic do you want to see? And I know I have a lot of young moms that watch the show, and I've gotten the topic suggestion quite often about just talking about those ages 2, 3, and 4, tips, ways to combat fits, different things like that. So this is one area I have a lot of experience in. When I had my first child, I was not prepared at all. I was not prepared for how stubborn and strong-willed some children can be. I was not prepared for the lack of sleep and the battles and the wills and the tears and the screaming and everything that came along with the 2, 3, and 4-year-old range. But I was also not prepared for how cute and adorable they would be at this age too. So I've learned some things along the way, and I wanted to go over some tips for raising kids in this age bracket. You'll need a whole lot of consistency, a whole lot of patience, and a whole lot of grace when you have kids in this age bracket. And I do want to say a disclaimer. I have noticed that a lot of a child's temperament and disposition is kind of dependent on personalities of the parents. and also home environment. And laid back parents tend to produce a more laid back child. Now, my kids didn't stand a chance because they come from two strong type A personalities. And so I do think that genetics does play somewhat, from what I have observed, into this. Also, age in the family. The firstborn does tend to be a little more headstrong and strong-willed, I've noticed. And then as you go down the line, also, if it's a firstborn gender, like I had two boys at the top, so I did have a firstborn, but then I also had a firstborn girl that kind of started off my string of 6 girls. So she tended to take on some of the firstborn characteristics when it came to stubbornness and strong-willed, and things like that. So I have noticed that. And then also my last 2 have been kid number 7 and kid number 8. Now, being raised in a large family, kid number 7 and kid number 8, they need to have a little bit of tenacious will to come along with that. It's not easy being the youngest of a huge pack of kids. So kids born later into a big family tend to be a lot more outgoing, a lot more strong-willed, a lot more assertive of their will, because they have to do more to be seen more. So, and I've often noticed that as you go along in age. So placement in a family, definitely gender. If you have a bunch of boys and then you have the first girl, she tends to take on some of the characteristics of, the older, the firstborn. But let's go over lowering your expectations when it comes to early years. Okay, so my early years, I remember when my husband and I were dating, we looked at each other and we said, we were going to have perfect children. Little did I know. So we just had it in our thought, we're both type A personalities, both firstborns, competitive in nature. And we just thought our kids were going to be born and they were going to be perfect and everything would be sunshine and roses and blah, blah, blah. So when our first child was born, it kind of threw us for a loop because he was anything but perfect. He had a very strong will. God doesn't create robots in our womb. He creates human beings with their own will and their own desires. And, your job as a parent is to divert that into something that will be helpful and useful and not destructive in their life. So from the time he was 2 months old, he started holding his breath and passing out. And that just showed you that he had a temper. If we didn't do exactly what he wanted, exactly when he wanted it, at 2 months old, even, he would get upset, he would cry, and he would pass out every day, pretty much, until he was almost 3, I believe this went on. We used to tell our, people in the church that were helping in the nursery or helping, whatever, that, okay, if he starts holding his breath and turning blue, you need to lay him down so that he doesn't fall and hit his head. And we told him, don't be alarmed, just lay him on the ground, let him be, and he's going to pass out and then he'll come to and he's fine. And yes, we did our due diligence. We actually asked our pediatrician about it. And he said, oh yeah, that's common. Kids this age, they get really upset. Hannah's almost passed out a couple of times now, but he said kids this age get really upset and they will pass out, but it's fine. It's not going to do any damage. Just, put him somewhere safe so he can't fall and hit his head. Hey, Nicole. So that's what we would do. That's what we told anyone that would be watching him or taking care of him to do as well. So it became very common. Tommy's throwing another fit. He's turning blue. Lay him down on the ground, and then he'll be fine when he wakes up. So that's something that we dealt with our first. Now, that's very extreme. And I don't know of many parents that deal with someone or a child that goes to that extreme, but that was just his personality. But I've seen now, as he's a man of almost 21, how that has served him well, as long as you take that will and you channel it the right way and really instill doctrines and principles in their heart at a young age as they grow. That's going to help them in their walk with God. That's going to help them stand against the world and stand against just the patheticness of our society. So that actually will come into play. I don't when I see moms with strong-willed kids, I understand that it's a struggle, and I understand that it's hard at the moment. But you've got to realize, if you channel that strong will into something, that can help them in their Christian walk, it's going to be huge as they get older, because I'm a very strong-willed person. And I have used that strong will to help me stand against injustice and, stand for God and stand for what I believe in. So channeled right, it's a good thing. But when I was younger, I had very high expectations when it came to my home. I had very high expectations when it came to my alone time. I did not realize, I don't think anyone does, when they signed up for this mothering thing, just how much of my time would be my children's and my husband's. And I don't think anyone realizes till they're in it. So, just putting their needs before my own. I was a young mom. I was 20, almost 21. Yes, I'm going to get to that, Nicole, for sure. What we've done with our children. Jason just told me yesterday that we raised them good. And that meant a lot to me, hearing my 19-year-old, almost 20-year-old tell me that we raised them good. And he's like, you raised us good. You raised us to be hard workers. You raised us. And I said, oh, so you are telling me that we were good parents? And he's like, yeah, you were good parents. So that's great that he's saying that now. But just remember, you can be stressed and in high alert every minute of every day, or you can just chill a little. I personally get stressed out around stressed out. I get stressed out around stressed people, if that makes sense. Their energy, I'm not getting into all this weird voodoo, earth energy, whatever, but you can pick up things from people, their personalities. And people that are highly stressed out every minute of every day causes me to be stressed out when I'm around them. And I found that as a young mom, when I was just constantly on edge and constantly stressed out, that transferred to my children. And that manifested itself in a lot of different ways. Stomach issues, primarily. So if you have a child that has a lot of stomach aches, take a step back and kind of question or look inwardly and think, why is their stomach hurting? Are they stressed out? Most of the times when kids are stressed out, it's because there is stress in the home. There is an anxious mom, a helicopter mom. There's fighting between the parents. There's some sort of stressful thing that you as a family are going through. And that will manifest itself in headaches sometimes. That'll manifest itself in stomach aches. So be aware of that and, maybe take a look. Is there something we can change? I don't want my kids to be stressed out because I'm stressed out. What can I do to alleviate that? So much is established in those early years. There have been studies done where that so much, like kids, they'll take studies of kids who are just left in cribs from the time that they are a baby, and the kids will actually become mentally retarded because there's no interaction, there's no love given, there's no physical touch. From about 0 to 5 is the most formative years when it comes to that. I've often noticed with Kelly, when she's feeling overwhelmed or underloved, that she needs more snuggle time. And she'll even tell me, she's very good at voicing what she wants. She's very good at voicing her needs. Mommy, I just need to snuggle with you. I need to snuggle with you. And when she doesn't get that, if we're too busy or we're running here and there, she acts out and she has more fits. I am tired of parents from the Michael Pearl mindset and the Bill Gothard mindset that just expect their kids to be robotic and expect their kids never to cry or voice their concerns. That child is going to grow up shielding all their emotion from you and not communicating with you. And you're going to wonder why when they're 16, 17, 18, they're doing things behind your back. They're not telling you how they feel. A lot of that stems back to you teaching them you can't ever have an opinion. You have to just fall in line and do what I say. And there is a balance. There's somewhere in the middle that you need to be with your kids. You cannot expect them to be robotic and never have emotions and never have feelings and never act out. And if they are acting out, try to find the root cause of it. And I see this in toddlers quite a bit. especially from about age 3 and up. If you have a child that's age 3 or 4 and they're constantly crying all the time, they're not telling you what's wrong, there might be an issue that you need to dig up and figure out what's going on here. What can I change? Do they need more attention? Do they need more snuggle time? Do they need more one-on-one time? What is it? My child should not be crying all day long. He should not be this happy. She should not be this unhappy. So, just really as a mom, you are the most intuitive when it comes to your children. And Isaac is a typical firstborn, and he could feel pressure that he is the oldest. He needs to behave the best. He needs to do this the best. And firstborns, we tend to feel a lot more pressure sometimes. We tend to feel like a burden is on our shoulders, whether intentionally put by our parents or just because of our birth order. I don't know. But anytime I've gone through something in my life, it affects my stomach. So anytime I've gone through stress as a teenager, even different times in my life, going through, my dad dying, different stressful things at home, I stop eating. I can't eat. It affects my stomach. So I know for me personally, my stress is manifested in my stomach issues. So that's just something to watch out for. You can create anxious, stressed out children. I've seen it in a lot of people's lives. There are that just transfers, more is caught than is taught. So you can say things, but if you're living a completely opposite life and you're just stressed out all the time and screaming all the time and mad all the time, that's going to transfer more than what's coming out of your mouth. More is caught than is taught. So just remember that. Love freely when they're young, kiss, hug, snuggle, physical touch. Kids, I don't care what your love language is. Every kid loves physical touch. They need to be touched. They need to be hugged. So love freely and speak gently. One thing that I've often done is when my kids are throwing fits when they're young, I will try to get on their level. And there are some things that I've learned with each child. And kids, sometimes they don't know, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds don't know how to tell you exactly why they're feeling. Hannah's new thing is her clothes. She freaks out like about every outfit that we try putting on her. So what I've done is I'll put it on her. She'll scream for a little bit, but I'll hold her. I'll just say very gently, you're wearing these clothes. You're wearing these clothes. I don't punish her for it right now because she's trying to show me her frustration. She doesn't know how to say it. She's just now starting to say words, starting to say sentences. So I just hold her. I let her know, Mama loves you, but we're going to do this. It's cold out. You need a coat. Mama loves you, but you have to wear a coat, and that's not something that you just need to get the spoon out and spank your kid's leg until they stop crying. She's 2. She doesn't know how to communicate that with me. And she doesn't understand when I'm telling her the weather outside. So that's just where I'll try holding her while she's doing it. And then it goes away. You know what? She stops screaming in a minute or two. So it's fine. Kids are going to scream. That's what they do. So, but yeah, with Kelly, because she is old enough to communicate, when she is in the middle of a fit, when she's in the middle of a meltdown, she will not listen to reason. Most kids, their communication sensor processors turn off. They switch off. They're not going to listen. And you can, beat yourself over the head trying to get them to submit and listen to you during a fit, but you're just going to stress yourself out. You're going to cause horrible memories and bad memories in their mind because of this huge battle over what? Usually it's over something silly. So what I do with Kelly is I try to take her alone to a quiet place and I set her on my lap and I eye to eye and I look at her and I say, you need to breathe with me. You need to breathe. And then we'll go. That causes her to stop crying. That causes her to calm down. And then I'll say, what is the problem? And so then she'll tell me the problem. If it's something like I want to go outside and run in the road, then obviously that's a no. And I'll explain to her, she's smart. I'll explain to her, you can't run out in the road. We're not going to do this. Okay. You need to stop crying. And usually that's kind of what's helped with her fits. It's helped diffuse the fits very, very good. So that is a mechanism, that is a control, that is a thing that helps with her reasoning, because when she's in the middle of a fit, most kids, when they're in the middle of a screaming fit, they're not going to stop. So another thing I've done with a kid that's throwing a fit, maybe disrupting homeschooling, disrupting the middle of the home, I have carried them screaming and kicking to their room, lay them down and told them that when you are calm, we are going to talk about this. And then I close the door. And that's as much for me as for them, because you don't want to discipline in anger. You don't want to blow up. And then, that's never a way to discipline in anger. So close the door. Usually they calm down after a little bit and I'll go in there and we'll talk about it. I'll, discipline when I need to discipline, whatever, but try not to discipline in anger. That's just going to create angry, stressed out kids too. If something isn't working, change it up. Okay. Let's say that could be anything. That could be potty training, sleep training, or fit throwing. With potty training, I have decided with my kids, usually around 2, I start. Hey, Ashlyn. Usually around 2, I start potty training. But if a week or 2 goes by and it's becoming a very, very stressful situation because they don't understand, it just hasn't clicked yet, I will put it off. I'll let another couple weeks go by. We'll try again. If kids aren't communicating very well at 2 and they're not telling you what they need, I would suggest not potty training them. It's not something in the long term. They'll be potty trained by the time they're 5, moms. They'll be potty trained by the time they go to college. Okay. They'll be potty trained by the time they get a job. In the grand scheme of things, it does not matter if they're 2. It does not matter if they're 3. It does not matter if they're 4. Okay. Just chillax. I know diapers are expensive. I know if you do cloth diapers, it's a huge pain, but if you can, you're going to go crazy. Potty training, it's like that, and teaching my kids to drive are 2 of the things I hate. I've liked most thing about parenting. I do not like potty training. I do not like teaching how to drive. I just don't like it. So, if it gets to the point where they are very unhappy, they're stressed out, they are anxious. If you're stressed out, you aren't happy, put it on the back burner. It's not a big deal. Even sleep training, Kelly, back to Kelly again. Kelly has been my most difficult. She's taught me a lot, because just when you think you have it figured out after 6 kids, number 7 comes along and throws you for a loop. She still is not the greatest when it comes to sleep. So there are different things that we have tried with her. When I first started training her to sleep in her own bed, I would sit in there until she got used to me inching my way out the door. And then eventually she did, but she still wakes up. She's almost 4. She still wakes up during the night. So I've tried putting a drink by her bed. I've tried a sticker chart so that she'll stay in her bed, because when she comes to bed at me at 3 a.m, I don't sleep anymore for the rest of the night. So what we've kind of come up with is, she's old enough to understand if she gets up in the middle of the night, for some reason, she likes sleeping on the couch. So she'll take her own pillow and her own blanket and go sleep on the couch. She won't cry. She's to the point now, she finally won't cry when she wakes up. So she'll just go out there and she'll sleep there the rest of the night, and it works for us. So it doesn't have to be conventional. At least I know she'll always be in her bed or she'll always be on the couch. I know that she's going to be in one of those 2 places, and that's fine. So it doesn't have to be conventional, but just do what works for you when it comes to sleep training. Same thing with fit throwing. There are different things, different methods you can do for each child. And remember that every child will be different. So different things are going to work for different kids. Okay. Some will be more sensitive and some will be more strong-willed. Now, I will say that Abigail was very strong-willed from the time she was little. And it wasn't so much with fit throwing. It was that she tried to be sneaky and get away with doing things like nap time was a big thing for us. She was the same as Kelly. She never liked sleeping. She still doesn't sleep that much. So I would think she's up there in her nap, but she was actually in the bathroom dumping the thing of 500 Q-tips all over the floor and dunking her hair in the toilet. I still don't know why she did that, but I took a picture of it because, it was pretty funny. I didn't have a phone camera back then, but I took it on my camera that, you develop the film. And yeah, because I had to remember that, so she did things like that. And yes, I would at 3, 4, I would discipline her for it because I was trying to train her to listen to mommy. Even if you're not, sleeping, you need to lay in bed quietly, look at books. And she did get to that point. So it's just takes consistency, know what you need as a mom. I needed the time when I had 3 little kids for an hour or 2 to myself every day during their nap time. I needed it to recharge. I would usually pick up the house during that time because dad would be home a few hours after that. And to me, it was important that the house was at least picked up before dad got home. So, I trained them. Bedtime and naps were very important for me. And I had to have them on that schedule. So from the time that they were little, they knew, and it eventually got to, Tommy still talks about it. He's so bitter over it, but him, Jason, Nabby, every Sunday afternoon, we would come home and they were probably like 8, 7, 6. And we would make them stay in their beds. We would make them go in their room on Sunday afternoon because we really needed to recharge. Sundays are very, very busy days. I still sometimes miss my Sunday nap. I wish kind of sometimes we were back in those days where I got a Sunday nap. But it was really important to us as parents. So we trained our kids to do that. So know what your level is, and do let your kids, you don't have to be, militant about it and never show grace and all these things. And sometimes life gets in the way and you're not going to be able to have your nap. But if you're consistent for the most part, they're going to learn. They're going to learn that. And that brings me to my next point, the importance of sleep. I think that most problems with toddlers stem from lack of sleep. Toddlers need an insane amount of sleep. And I wish I would have looked up the statistics of this because I saw a graph once. If I find the graph, or Sarah, if you find the graph, we can put it in the Gently Led Sisters group. I found a graph once that showed how much a developing brain, how much sleep it needs. And for toddlers, it's a huge amount. Obviously, we know babies sleep around the clock. But even when they get to be toddlers and older, they need an insane amount. So I have noticed with Hannah, especially, she goes into what we call deep slumber every day. We cut her down to about 1 nap. When she has 1 nap and we time it just right, usually around 11 a.m. or noon, she'll sleep for 3 or 4 hours. So we call that her deep slumber. And she is in so much better of a mood. I mean, the fits are decreased. She's happy and she plays. And she's just a totally different, almost 2-year-old than she is when she doesn't get sleep. And then at night, we put her down around 7. And a lot of nights, if she'll wake up around 4 or 5, sometimes for a bottle still, but she'll sleep 7 to 8, 7 to 9. Crazy amount of sleep. So when my kids were younger, they had a 7 o'clock bedtime. I did that because they needed so much sleep for their developing brains. It's very important. And I've often noticed through my own kids and then just through being around kids all the time. I'm around kids all the time, even when it comes to teaching piano. When I taught at the Arts Academy for years, I would see it there. Kids who don't get a lot of sleep are very weepy. They're very emotional. They're sometimes very headstrong and they don't want to listen to you. They tend to disobey more. So sleep is so important. I can't even stress the importance of sleep and a good sleep schedule. I feel like parents that will utilize sleep and just how important it is. First of all, they'll have more time with each other in the evening, which will help their relationship. Second of all, their kids' brains will get more sleep and it will develop better. And also their kids' disposition usually improves. A lot of the crying is cut down on. They're just generally happier. Their appetite is better. Just sleep begets sleep. So I've noticed when we go and Hannah does miss her nap, that night is usually awful. She's waking up several times a night. She's just, she's sleeping very fitfully. Whereas if she gets a 3-hour nap during the day, she sleeps 12 hours at night. It's crazy how that works, but sleep begets sleep. A sleepy child is a weepy child. I've definitely noticed that. Oftentimes people might think I'm excusing behavior because say, I'm sorry, they haven't got much sleep, but it's really not excusing their behavior. It's explaining their behavior because a sleepy child is going to act out more. That's just all there is to it. I'm a firm believer in having very serious sleep schedules. Now, I don't revolve around them. I don't make my life revolve around them. There are exceptions and church days are always exceptions. I've never kept my kids home from church because they have to sleep. I realized usually the next day after church is a little more difficult, and they do sleep more the next day because it's almost like they're trying to make up for it. But if I can, any day that I can, they're on a sleep schedule. So learn to live life with the toddlers, but don't expect too much. Okay. So one thing that we have done is no matter how old our kids are, from newborn up to 20, whatever, we have lived life and they've come along for it. So even as a newborn, I utilized baby carriers. I did everything with my kids in a baby carrier, church. I remember with Hannah or Kelly, I played the piano. I was like, please stay asleep, please stay asleep. But I played the piano during church once, holding them in their carrier. But we've always, toddlers if you're an introvert, this will kind of work to your advantage because toddlers give you an escape plan sometimes. So have an escape plan. If you need to a lot of times I've taken them out to the van, maybe to deal with discipline or to just calm Kelly down, calm a fit, stop a fit in its tracks, and then we talk it out. I've used the van, take them home, if you're at an all day event, but you just need to step out for a couple of hours, that's fine. I've taken my kids home on Sundays a lot for naps, and that's just something I need to do for them. And utilize tools. What do I say with tools? Well, when it comes to maybe a waiting room or a church service or something, find something that they'll like to do and save it for that. So let's say that you have to go on a trip. They have these watercoloring books. I've noticed Kelly really likes doing stuff with her hands. One time at church, she was actually good the whole service. And she sat there. All I did was I gave her a bunch of bobby pins, and she sat there and put the bobby pins together and then took them apart. That was what she did for the whole hour. And I was like, that gives me an idea. Maybe I should buy more little toys like that. But definitely utilize tools when you're driving. I don't find anything wrong with some screen time. That's just my personal conviction. If you have a conviction against it, that's fine. But I will let my kids have some screen time sometimes to keep them busy. And then pack accordingly. I always pack food. So like veggie straws, applesauce packets, raisins, those are all good. Pack food and extra outfits. Oftentimes we'll be driving and Hannah will be screaming, and I'll look at the girls and say, she's hungry. And I'll throw a bag of veggie straws at her and she's great the rest of the ride. That solves it. So foods or snacks will help with a lot of things. If your kids are just crying all the time, maybe they're hungry. So get them some food, and then be prepared for accidents and messes. I'm always prepared. I remember one time when we were going to churches to kind of raise a little bit of support when we were starting our church. We were at a church and I was holding the baby. I don't know who it would have been at that time. Allie. It would have been Allie. And unbeknownst to me, something messed her stomach up and she puked all over me. She puked all over her clothes. She puked all over me. Thankfully, I even had extra clothes for me. I think we were spending the night or something because it was a couple hours from home. So I had extra clothes for her. Always have extra clothes. Not so much for you, maybe if you have a baby and you get puked on a lot, but be prepared for accidents and messes when it comes to kids. So fits throughout the years, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I feel like they start sometimes when my kids are around 18 months. And they kind of intensify around 2.5 to 3. And usually by 3, they're starting to phase out. Kelly will throw the occasional fit. Usually it's when she's a sibling that doesn't know how to diffuse the situation or antagonizes the situation. Usually it's when she's tired, different things like that can come into it. But a lot of parents ask me this: spanking, what age? I know spanking is a controversial issue, but I do still believe in it. It is not illegal in America, but with everything, you need to use common sense. Okay, I know more and more parents are getting away from it, but I've seen unspanked kids, and I don't want that for my kids. There's absolutely no self-control usually when it comes to those kids. People often ask me what age. So if it's something that's going to put them in danger, a little swat on the leg is fine. And that's, nothing before 1, I would say. I would say closer to 1.5 to a swat on the leg. You don't need to like get out a big instrument or something. So just a swat on the leg. And you can put your foot down without beating your child until his will is demolished. And I've seen so many parents that just are like, by golly, I'm going to defeat this kid's will. Well, honestly, I don't want my kid's will defeated. I've seen parents who do that to their children. They beat them for every little thing. When I say beat, I don't mean literally beat. That's just what we call spankings. They beat them for every little thing. The kids are afraid to breathe, for Pete's sake. And they do. Their eyes are lackluster. They've lost their will. Their will has been defeated, but that will come back when they get older. And they get older to realize just how over the top their parents were. So you can definitely train and teach your children without just demolishing their will and everything good that comes with their will. So calm talks, get down to their level. Definitely get down to their level. Oftentimes I will just get down on my knees and, or get on the ground with my child and look right at them in their eyes. The breathing technique that I talked about with Kelly, I'll breathe with her. And now she's to the point where she knows what to do. She'll do it, but she wants me to do it with her. So she'll say, breathe with me. So we'll breathe together, and that calms me down and that calms her down. Sometimes kids just need a little more oxygen to the brain. So I definitely do not believe in spanking babies. I am completely against that. Babies don't even know that they're doing wrong until they get a little bit older, until they can start communicating with you. So when your child can't even communicate with you, you don't need to be spanking them. That's where you just need to work a little bit harder at figuring out the problem. And then naps. Naps will help with fits so much. So definitely when they're younger, 2 naps for sure. 2 on down, they're going to have naps. 3 on down, they're going to have naps in our house. 3 on down, they're going to have early bedtimes. 7 p.m., they're going to bed. And that will right there will help stop so many of the fits in their tracks. And then just having consistency when it comes to your kids or your toddlers. So establish some firm rules from the beginning, but have some that are negotiable at times. Okay. So let's say, some non-negotiables in our house are lying, stealing, disobeying. And this is one of mine. This is just personal to my home. Slamming doors. You don't slam doors in my house. That is, for some reason, I don't know. I don't know if I have some buried memory of slammed doors, or I have some regressed feelings from when I was growing up about slammed doors. But the thing that sets me over the edge the most is slammed doors. So your rule might be different. It might be, I don't know, no back talking is a huge trigger for you, and I would say that along with slamming doors, yelling, if I don't, my kids will not yell at me. That's a non-negotiable. That is not happening in my house. So those things, lying, stealing, disobeying, slamming doors, and yelling, are kind of the big no-nos in the McMurtry house. Some that might be negotiable. Well, bedtime sometimes for my older kids. Those are some negotiable things. Time that we start school. We have a basic schedule, but I'm not super picky about, okay, we have to start by 8:30 or we have to start by 9. Most of the time we just start by 9 because that's when I start teaching piano most days that I teach. So, that's just kind of a loose schedule that we have. I'm trying to think of some other non-negotiables. Sometimes I don't mind when my children are discussing things with me, even if they have a different opinion. And I think it's because a lot of times when I was growing up, I was not allowed to discuss the way I saw things, the way I thought it was wrong, or the way I thought it was different. I was just shut down immediately. So I might allow a little bit more back and forth than some parents would allow, but that's just what works in my home. Some parents are very, 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 very strict. And they just shut you down immediately. But I've found that parents who are often that way with their children, there are communication problems for the rest of their life because their child never felt safe with them. Their child never felt like they could open up to them about what they were feeling. So because of that, I've tried to be a little different with my kids. And I do want them to discuss what they're feeling with me. I do want them to interact with me in dialogue and things. So I might allow a little bit more when it comes to that than say you would. But like I say, I do this because I've seen the opposite end where the parents do want robotic children who will just say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, for every little command. And they're not getting to the heart of it. They're not seeing what's in their child's heart. They're not seeing if their child agrees with this standard or this conviction in their life. They're just expecting complete obedience and no will of the child's own. Well, there is a will there. And that will come out later in life if, you've just squashed it or you've demolished it or you've, broken it so badly. So I highly encourage dialogue and, not blatant disrespect, like, a kid telling you, you're so stupid, mom, that doesn't even make sense. Now, obviously, my kids want to do that, but obviously that's not going to be allowed. But, mom, I really don't see your point in this. Can you, this is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? I want to have a reason for why we do what we do because I want my kids to eventually take that on themselves. So if I don't even have a reason for why you must always wear a white shirt to church, that's a stupid example. But if I don't have a biblical reason for that, then I'm not going to just be like, well, because I said so. And if you wear anything else, it's sin and you're disobeying me and you're a rebel and blah, blah, blah. I feel parents make too much into a big fight and you have to be willing to pick your battles. Like I said, those non-negotiables up there, lying, stealing, disobeying, slamming doors and yelling, those are some things where, those are going to be non-negotiables in my home where there might be others that are negotiable because there really is no biblical principle. I can come up with biblical principles with all of that, with the exception of maybe slamming doors. And that's just falls under the area of disobeying, I guess, because they're disobeying me when they slam the door. I can come up with biblical reasons for all of those, and then have some sort of consistency to your days. I have so many moms that reach out to me and through email, different things. My life is a mess. It's chaotic. It's stressful. What am I doing wrong? And then when I ask them, well, can you explain a typical day to me? Okay, does this day resemble, for the most part, does this day resemble most of your days? Well, no, because we don't really have a schedule and that's just not us. And, we're up till 2 a.m. and then I get the kids up at 8 to do school. If your kids are only getting 6 hours of sleep a night, that's your main problem right there. Okay. I cannot emphasize enough. I wish young moms would take this to heart. Your kids need sleep. They need sleep. They need consistency. They need, a bedtime and they need a nap schedule and they need, just that consistency from day to day. That's so important to have that. They need to know what to expect. If they're allowed to stay up, and I'm talking younger kids, this is not teenagers. Teenagers are completely different. That's a different subject for a different day. We can talk about teenagers later. This is talking about 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. They need to pretty much be told when to go to bed. They need to be told, no, actually, I don't get them up. I let them sleep so they can sleep till however long they want. But they need to be told when to get to bed. They need to be told when to brush their teeth. They need to be told when to bathe. They need to be told all of these things. And hopefully as they grow older, they take on those responsibilities themselves. But at this age, they need to be told, they need to be shown what to do and have some sort of consistency. One thing we do with our girls is we have a bedtime routine. So usually my husband will brush their teeth and then he'll lay them down. We'll give Hannah her bottle and her passy. And then he will sometimes read a story. Sometimes he'll tell them a story. They will sing a song, usually with me. And it's different songs for different parents. So with me, I sing You Are My Sunshine. My husband will sing usually some silly song. He's the silly guy. So he'll sing some silly song and then he'll pray or Kelly will pray. And basically when Kelly prays, it's just God bless daddy, God bless mommy. And she'll go through the whole list. And then she throws the Capriati's in there too. She loves the Capriati's. She loves Daniel. So I'm sorry to all the other church families that she doesn't pray for. The Capriati's get a special blessing, I guess. because she loves Daniel so much. So she throws that in there, and God bless the Capriottis. And if I forget, she'll say, you didn't pray for the Capriottis. So, and I don't even think I've ever told them that, I think it's cute. So that's our schedule. We have a schedule so they know what to expect. Another thing is for naps, I will set the timer. I will say, you've had 10 minutes. This diffused a lot of fits. You have to be smart. You have to think ahead of the toddler. So a lot of times if you mentally prepare them for things, it will help diffuse any fit that might come. She hates naps. Kelly hates naps. So on the days that she's going to take naps, I will say, I'm setting the timer. You have 10 minutes. When the timer goes off, nap time. I set the timer, and usually because she knows that, she goes right into her room. For naps, I'm not as strict with Kelly anymore because she is closer to 4 and we're kind of phasing out naps most days. But I had it where I would then reset the timer for an hour and she could lay in her bed and look at books. Now, most of the time when she looks at the books, she'll fall asleep and then she'll get a nice nap in. So that is one thing that I've done to just diffuse fits when it comes to her. So there are different techniques and things that you can do. Figure out your kid and figure out what's going to work for them. Maybe one kid, if they stay in bed for an hour, gets a sticker on a sticker chart. And then when it's full, he gets a treat. He gets to go with mom for an ice cream cone. I don't feel it's wrong to reward children for meeting your standards when it comes to, or meeting your expectations when it comes to behavior. It's fine. Put a little joy in your child's life. You know what? Don't have your home just be a house of enforcing rules and you do what I say and jump when I say jump. And if I say jump, you say how high, and, put a little bit of joy into your children's lives. You get one shot at this. You get one shot at raising your kids in a happy home. 18 years goes by so fast. And, you want a happy home. You want happy memories. You want happy memories of eating ice cream with mom because, they laid in their bed for an hour for 2 weeks straight, and they were rewarded. And there's a sense of accomplishment that comes with that. And then they're going to want to try to please you more, and they're going to want to try to behave more. And, positive reinforcement is so important. You just don't want negative in your life over and over and over and over again in your child's life, because it's going to be a miserable home. They're going to have bad memories. All of us have some bad memories, but some of us have more. Some of us, maybe some of you were raised in a home where it was a war zone all the time. Your parents were fighting and throwing things at each other, and it was miserable. Some of you were raised in a more mild home, but you still have those memories. No parent's perfect. We're all going to have some bad memories in our mind. But overall, 90% of the time, you want to have a happy home. So yes. And sometimes too, Shara, sometimes just going on walks in the fresh air makes them more apt to sleep later that night. I've noticed that when I get more sun, when I'm more active, when I'm out in the fresh air, I tend to sleep a lot better at night. And it's the same thing with kids. So definitely with little kids, especially, have a block of time where you all go outside. You all go for a walk if you're in a city, or you all go in the backyard if you're in the country or even in town, and you just play. Make them run around, make them discover things, make them explore. That's going to help their sleep too. That's definitely going to help their sleep as they grow up. Okay. So then toddlers in church, I feel like I'm not even, I raised, like 6 of my children are great through church, but my last 2 have been doozies. So, Kelly's been tough again. Just remember, when it comes to your toddlers and babies, you won't be sitting for a while in the main service. You'll be in and out all the time. And that's fine. Unless you just have a weird mutant robot child, you're going to have to go in and out a lot of times. Okay. So probably up until they're about 2.5, they're not going to be able to sit through a service. And I do not believe in, like, we have a 2.5-year-old, Mavis. She is really good with services. She kind of, walks around, but she's learned to be quiet for the most part. But her parents did not she's going to sit in church. No, they kind of made it into like a fun thing. And she's just kind of learned. And she's pretty well behaved in the service. She's just kind of learned. And I was glad that they didn't make this into this huge battle. Like, by golly, she's going to sit in the service, or so help me. No, they kind of made it into a fun thing, and she just likes it. So that's totally fine. I think that's great to do because I don't ever want my kid to like be so we pull up to the church and they're just like crying because they always get spanked at church, or, every time they have to sit through the service, it's this huge, long drawn out battle. And their parents are determined that, they're going to have the best sitting kid in the church. And a lot of times I've noticed parents in churches tend to get almost into a competition of like, my kid's better than your kid. Look at how good my kid's sitting. Your kid's still talking and you still have to take your kid out to deal with them. And, my kid's better than yours. So try not to get ever into that mindset. Kids are going to get act up. Yeah. Does it mean you're a horrible parent? No. And be careful making church into something that they dread. I want my kids to love coming to church. I want my kids to be happy to see their friends and to be happy to sit through the preaching. I don't want it to become this horrible, horrible experience. I want my kids to be in church the rest of their lives. So when they're little, I'm not going to make it awful for them. I've just determined that. And whether that means that I have to get up more with my kids, take them out more, talk to them, explain, you've got to sit quietly. Right now with Hannah, we're just kind of sometimes trying to sit her in the back lobby part on a chair and then just tell her, shh, trying to explain what shh means. And Hannah is a pistol. She's a pistol. And I've often said if I took her to the doctor, she would have ADHD because she is off the wall energy. And so it's going to be difficult to contain that the closer she gets to 3. I try to have my kids sitting through a service by the time they're 3. Oftentimes with Kelly, I still occasionally have to take her out. But she's getting better. It's been a battle, but she's getting better. A battle as far as, having to take her out, explain what she's doing, bring her back, take her out, bring her back, take her out. Utilize mother baby rooms if you need to. I have. Sometimes they have it also playing in our fellowship area. So what I'm going to start doing for when we finally get Hannah to the point where she's going to sit through services, I'm going to train her back here in this fellowship area. I think I'm going to set up a couple chairs. I'm going to sit her down and I'm going to just work on it back there. Keep putting her back on the chair. Nope. We're going to sit and listen to daddy. If she gets up, put her back on the chair. Nope. We're going to sit and listen to daddy. I'm not going to make it into a huge battle, but I am going to start training her. Other parents have often also put a sermon on at home, had their kids sit on the couch and then train them that way. They start out at 5 minutes. Let's sit for 5 minutes, listen to a sermon. Yay, you did it. Here's a gummy snack. Then 10 minutes the next day, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes, so on and so forth to where they get used to that. I could also do that to train Kelly and Hannah, but I just don't really have those block of times right now. Life is pretty packed at the moment. But if you do have the time to do that, that's a great way to do it as well. And then you're training them in the privacy of your own home. There's a difference between punishing a child and training a child. Okay, there's a big difference. Sometimes kids are going to need to be disciplined. Let's say they hit their sister, they lie to you, they steal something, they disobey, they try running out in the road to get hit by a car. There's going to be some times where we need to take those steps, but there's also training that so much more is training. And like I said, more is caught than taught. And kids learn a lot through your example. That's the number one thing that they learn through. So training is the day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff that you do. This is why we live the way we live. This is how we act during this situation. Talking, communicating, even at 2, 3, 4, 5, they can understand a lot more than you think. Hannah understands a lot more than sometimes she says things I'm like, I didn't even know she knew that word. So if you are going crazy and screaming and stressed out and using cuss words, your child's going to do that too. They're going to go. So I've never understood parents who use foul language and then punish their child for using foul language. That is the stupidest thing to me, because if your children are going to catch what you're saying, Hannah and Kelly say the same phrases that we do a lot. So why would you punish your child for just repeating what's coming out of your mouth? That makes no sense to me. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. And that doesn't work with kids. Kids see the hypocrisy. They see what goes on at home. They see how you react to situations. They hear what comes out of your mouth. So why would you expect them to act differently than what you're acting? Enlist help if you need to with toddlers. Your husband's help, It's not wrong, I don't think, to ask for a husband to help sometimes, especially if you have 2, 3, 4 little kids. Sometimes you need help corralling. If he's not involved in the song service or musician or song leading or preaching, I think that's fine for you to enlist his help. Enlist mother's helpers. A lot of teenage girls sometimes like to help out. Maybe they'll sit in your family pew and help keep an eye on one of the toddlers. There's nothing wrong with that. Little by little, they'll get used to it. And little by little, you'll be sitting in church and soon you'll look around at 5 kids sitting in your row thinking, where'd the time go? When did this happen? When did they grow up? Wasn't I just taking them out? Wasn't I just sitting in the nursery with them? Wasn't I just in the mother baby room with them? So little by little, they will start doing it. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the joy of toddlers. So much negative. Toddlers get so much shade thrown their way. But there is just something about this age. They are adorable. They have just such beautiful little wills and beautiful little minds ready to be shaped. They're not an annoyance. They're not a bother. They are the future of our country. They are a future of America. They are a future of our church. They are the future of Christianity. So take that job seriously. Really pour your heart and soul into their little heart. They are adorable. They do the most adorable things throughout the day. We are constantly laughing at not Chloe. We are constantly laughing at Kelly, and we are constantly laughing at Hannah. I had to have a little teaching moment. And this is one of the teaching moments I'm talking about. I had to have a little teaching moment today with Kelly. One of the girls in our church had let her play with something yesterday, and Kelly just took it home. And so my girls were like, Mom, Kelly stole that. I'm like, guys, I don't think she did it meaning to steal it. I think it was because Avery told her she could play with it. So Avery, we have your little box thing with the little flashlight in it. I was like, Avery told her she could play with it. We're going to give it back. And so Kelly, she was standing there listening to us. She got this big smile on her face. And she's just like, I'm going to go hide it. And Avery will never find it. And then she was like, ah, ha, 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 like laughing this evil laugh. It was so funny coming out of her. And all of us, I looked at my kids, my girls, and, we're trying not to laugh because she's like talking about stealing. She doesn't know stealing is bad yet. She doesn't understand what stealing is. But I looked at the girls and they're all dying laughing. We're like all laughing hysterically because just her face expression. She's like, I'm going to hide it forever and Avery will never find it. And then she goes running off. So I had to call her back and I'm like, Kelly, and I got down to her level and I said, do you know what it means when you take something that belongs to someone else? And she's like, no, she didn't know. And I said, that's called stealing. And it makes God very sad when we take things from people that aren't ours. And God made rules in the Bible. And he said, you're not supposed to take stuff from other people. And when you do, that's called stealing. And God sees everything. And God sees if we do that. I said, so the next time we see Avery, we're going to give that back to her. And she was like, okay. So I explained it. She understands. Kids understand more than you think. You understand oh my, do I have any mods at all? Okay, nice. I fixed that on my own. That came up. That was nice. So, that just kind of was a training. That's what I'm talking about, training. It takes a lot more time to explain to your child why we don't do things or the principle behind it or why God has said no to some things than it would have been for me just to grab the box and say, you know what, you little thief, you don't steal things. This is Avery and we're giving it back. And then fit, crying, sobbing. But I want it. It's mine. She gave it to me. There's so many things that you can do to diffuse a situation rather than accelerate a situation. And you're missing out on a training opportunity when you do that. Don't just call your 2-year-old or 3-year-old a little thief when they don't even know what a thief is. Explain it to them. Kids catch so much more than we think that they're capable of catching. So that was definitely a teaching moment. And we're not, yes, we will be here Wednesday. So Wednesday, we're going to bring it back to the church and we're going to explain to Kelly, we don't take things. I know she let you play with it, but it wasn't forever. She was just letting you play with it. Sometimes our friends let us play with stuff, but we have to give it back. And if they don't want us to keep it, but we do, that's called stealing. And, God doesn't like stealing. He says not to steal. in the Bible. And he says we shouldn't take things from our neighbor. And, we're supposed to love our neighbor and be kind to our neighbor. And it's not nice to steal things from our neighbor. So there's so many teaching opportunities that you can do. I remember when I was little, I stole or took, I think this is one of the reasons I like to explain things so well, because this memory sticks out in my head a lot. And I honestly was innocent when it came to this. I was probably 4, maybe 3 or 4. And I took a pen from my grandma's house, and it was a nice pen. Grandma had let me use it. And I guess in my mind, I just thought she gave it to me. I can have it. When we got home, my mom saw that I had taken this pen, and she was like, "You took grandma's pen." And I was like, "What? What did I do? I didn't know I'd done anything wrong." And she's like, "That is stealing." And then she kind of was really hard on me for it. And I guess that's why it sticks out in my mind. But she's like, "The next time you go, you are putting that back. You're giving it back to grandma." So I remember the next time we went to her house, I had it because I remembered I was type A. I remember all this. And I remember I was so ashamed because I had done this horrible sin that I didn't even know was a sin, but I had done this horrible thing. So she had a container on her counter that she put all the pens in. I put it up in the pen thing and just kind of tried to do it when she wasn't looking. And I was thinking maybe she'll never notice. Maybe she'll know, maybe she won't know I was a horrible person and a horrible thief and I stole this from her. But it's funny because even though my mom was hard on me for that, I still remember that. And I never took anything again because I was so terrified that I'd be a thief and I'd be stealing. So it did make an impression on me. And so I go above and beyond to make sure that that I don't do that. So kids will remember a lot at this age. I have very core memories of things that happened at 3, 4, 5. And, situations that happen at this age, they do tend to shape who you are and who you become. And if you are deficit in the area of giving love to your child at this age, it will manifest itself later on in their, in their teen years and their adult life. The age from 0 to 5 is so important, but just realize that if you've messed up, we all do. Kids are very forgiving. And they will. Just a simple hug, "I'm sorry." They want to forgive you. They want things to be good between you. They don't want there to be stress, and they don't want tension in the home. They don't want friction between you. They want to please you. Kids at the heart of things want to please their parents, and they pick up on the negative emotion that's coming from you. They pick up if you're not happy with them. They pick up if you're very irritated at them or displeased with them. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to ruin your kids forever if you have a bad day. You know what? Just pick yourself up the next day and do better and just apologize. And like I said, kids are very, very forgiving, especially at this age. Give them a few more sloppy kisses, tickle their belly, have fun with them. And they're going to forget a lot of that stuff that happened during the day, whether it was a stressful day or whatever, you lost your cool, you yelled at them. They're going to tend to forget it because they want things to be good between you. So I hope that helps. Line by line by line, I would just say provide a happy home for your kids. Don't be stressed out all the time. You're going to have stressful days, but try not to have that being the overlying theme of your home. Ask for forgiveness, love them freely, instill Bible principles in them through teaching moments as you see them do things. Laugh with them, have fun with them. Have a schedule and stick to it. Make sure they are sleeping. That is my number one for that. Diffuse the fits before they even start. Come up with things that will help that, whether that's setting a timer before they go to bed, whether that's setting a timer for them. You have to do school for this long and then you can have a break. You have to read a book for an hour and then you can have a break. You have to do this for 30 minutes and then you can have a break. We have to do these chores now. That's mainly for the older kids, not the 2, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds, but even 2, 3, 4, and 5 can help you around the house. Come help mommy, help me sweep, hold the dustpan for mommy, do this, do that, involve them in your activities. So, and then just, be there for them, love them. Your time is not your own right now, but it's a season in life. Okay. If you want to raise good kids, you have to be fully invested in their in their life. You have to really dig into their heart and the emotion and their brains and be on top of things and be aware of problems that might pop up. And there will be problems. Just when you think everything is going smooth, something else is going to pop up. So I've got 8 kids, which is 8 times more drama than the person with 1. So I got a lot of kids, but with a lot of kids, you have a lot of blessings. You have a lot of hugs. You have a lot of kisses. You have a lot of good things in your life. So that is it for now. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat. If you have any comments, leave them in the chat. Go ahead and thumbs up this video, share the video if it'll be a help to anyone, and just especially moms with 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds. It gets better. Hang in there. I speak from experience. You know, when I had 3 kids, 3 and under, it was a pretty tough time in my life, but now I'm so glad because I like having kids their age. You know, we've got almost 21, almost 20, and almost 18. She'll be 18 in a couple weeks. So I hope this helped. If you, like I said, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And we will probably not see you next Monday unless I come up with something spur of the moment, but I don't think that's going to happen. What I'll probably try to do is I might try to do a live at a different day next week because we get back on Tuesday. So I might try to do a live Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, maybe just a different afternoon of the week. So we'll see what happens. So I hope you all have a great week, and we will see you when we see you. So we'll talk to you later.